All right, we're going to look at Federalist number 13. This is the map of the United States, or actually, I shouldn't say United States because these were still colonies. They were trying to break away from Britain because the year is 1775, as you see over there. And just to refresh your memory, this is what we call the Proclamation Right of 1763. France and Britain fought a war, and after they came to write their Treaty of Peace, Britain took control of most of what is now Canada. But in that, they agreed to tell the colonists here not to cross this line so that they won't meddle with some of the Native Americans that were here and some of the forts of the French speakers that were over here. So this was the proclamation line. The king had proclaimed, had said that you guys, you colonists, you shouldn't go west of here. Which he was wrong because the colonists never listened and they gradually went that way. So anyways, so this is the 13 colonies on the eve of breaking away from England. So I'm going to read Federalist number 13. Federalist number 13 continues with where Federalist number 12 stopped. Now here he talks about the economy, why it's best for the 13 states to unite rather than create 13 different countries or 3 confederacies. And as I read it, I will explain to you some more. So kind of if you just make sure before listening to this and reading it, you've already read number 12 or watched the videos because they are related. This makes more sense after you see or read number 12 or watch it, okay? As connected with the subject of revenue, we may with propriety consider that of economy. The last Federalist was concerned, talked about revenue, the money that government needs to get to run the government, the people in the government need to get to run the government. So he says, we talked about commerce last time, how it can create revenue for government so that government does its job, so you people go about doing what you like to do and prosper. He says, you can also include economy right next to commerce because economy is important. Then he says, the money saved from one object may be usefully applied to another, and there will be so much the less to be drawn from the pockets of the people. So instead of wasting money and then asking for more money from people and making people broke because you constantly ask for money to run the government, you tax people to run the government. He says, isn't it better if we just do the job right from the get-go? If we usefully apply our knowledge, our understanding of how best to run a government, how best to save money. So and then he says, if the states are united under one government, there will be but one national civil list to support. Here when he says civil list, it's the people who work for the government. So civil list is government employees. Okay? It says if we have one union instead of 13 governments, 13 state governments, you can save a lot of money by the number of people you don't have to hire. Because with 13 governments, you have to do everything 13 times, okay? You have to have somebody to watch for the ports. You have to have a port authority in 13 states instead of just letting the government of the union be responsible for it. And just think of every other thing that a state does that you need to multiply it by 13, because 13 states need to do the same thing. So he says, if we unite, we can just have fewer people take care of more stuff, and economically it will be convenient. We will save a lot of money. If they are divided into several confederacies, there will be as many different national civil lists to be provided for. And each of them, as to the principal departments, coextensive with that which would be necessary for a government of the whole. Here again, says the same thing. He says, what if, okay, let's say we don't have 13 countries, we have 3 confederacies. Okay, we divide the country into 3 and make 3 confederacies out of it. Even then, you still need to do, you need to have more people working for the government than you would if there were only one government of the union. And when he says coextensive, he's talking about the area of the land that this government has to cover. So just think about it. Just makes sense that with one set of employees, you can cover the 13 states instead of having 13 of the same category of employees for 13 different states. So he repeatedly keeps on saying that. The entire separation of states into 13 unconnected sovereignties is a project too extravagant, too replete with danger to have many advocates. He says the idea of having 13 different countries has so many bad things. It's just such a bad idea. It comes with so many bad negative things about it that it just, it's easy to see that, okay? It's replete. Uses the word replete. You see a whole bunch of wrong things with it. The ideas of men who speculate upon the dismemberment of the empire seem generally turned towards 3 confederacies. He says there are these people that keep on saying, no, we don't need one union, we need 3 confederacies, and they want to dismember this empire. Now remember, in Federalist number 1, I said, just like when I first heard when they used the word empire, I thought empire as in today's sense, imperial sense. No, they usually use this phrase, this word for a vast area, vast continent. So he says this crazy idea that some people are saying to divide this vast area, this empire, into 3 confederacies is crazy, it's stupid. You should not listen to it. They're just trying to fool you because they feel like if there are 3 confederacies, they can maybe get better positions in a smaller territory than the union. So they're being selfish about it. Okay? And he even says what these people are saying, how they want to shape these confederacies. They say one consisting of the 4 northern, so it says 4 of these northern states get into one confederacy, okay? Another of the 4 of the middle states, right in the center, and the third one would be the 5 southern states. He says that these people are saying that we need to make 3 confederacies, 4 states on the northeast, 4 states in the middle, in the center, and 5 southern states. So that's what they're trying to tell you. and there is little probability that there would be a greater number. According to this distribution, each confederacy would comprise an extent of territory larger than that of Kingdom of Great Britain. He says even if we divide these 13 states into 3 confederacies, if you figure out the land area of each one of these, they will still be a little bigger than Great Britain. No well-informed man will suppose that the affairs of such a confederacy can be properly regulated by a government less comprehensive in its origin or institutions than that which has been proposed by the convention. He says, in these confederacies, you're going to have to do the same thing that we have done, we have proposed to you, except you'll be doing it 3 times over. Just waste of money, waste of time, waste of energy, and then who knows, it'll lead to war. So again, he says it doesn't make any sense to make 3 confederacies out of this thing. When the dimensions of a state attain to a certain magnitude, it requires the same energy of government and the same forms of administration which are requisite in one of much greater extent. So he says, whenever you expand the area into 3 or 4 states, and you confederate under 3 or 4 states, by the time you get to that land mass, you have already created a big confederacy, big enough where you need to do what we've done in this proposed constitution. So what's the sense of having to create 3 times the jobs, 3 times the civilian government employees than if you were just to do it within one union and have a third of the employees that you're going to need for 3 confederacies. Again, remember, constantly remind yourself, he's talking about economy. Economy means saving money. That's what he's talking about, is saving money, and so that there won't be any waste, so that people don't have to be taxed any more than they need to be taxed for the government to work.